Hey guys, today's episode is going to be a little different. It's just going to be me today. When I first thought about doing the podcast, I actually lost a lot of sleep. Just thinking about what the podcast should be about. What am I going to say? What do people think about what I'm going to say? Just all those racing thoughts and anxiety. But once I got into it, definitely got better. And would still get nervous before episodes, but did calm down more. And more recently, I've been pretty comfortable with the episodes, and that's been really great. But I think anytime you get comfortable in life, it's a good sign. It's time to push yourself a little more. So this is another way of pushing myself. Definitely really nervous to do solo episode. I've been really blessed to have a lot of amazing people on the podcast, and I was like, any shortcomings I have, just listen to them and they can fill in my gaps. But solo episode, there's no one to fill in my gaps for me, so it's a way to get to know me a little bit more intimately, and for me to again push myself more. And I've been really excited. The podcast has been doing really well. It's been getting very consistent numbers. I think someone told me that 8 episodes is kind of the podcast threshold. So if you do 8 episodes of a podcast, you're most likely to continue to do more episodes. And so I've gone well over that. And it's still early in the podcast, of course, but yeah, and really, I don't feel like it's slowing down. I have lots of thoughts, lots of episode ideas, other guests that I'm interested in having on. So yeah, I'm excited. The momentum is going well, and I'm excited to see how it continues. Yeah, I would really like if y'all gave me some feedback if you're interested. On social medias, or just if you know me, text me or whatever. And I really enjoyed the feedback I have gotten so far from friends. But just what you like, what you don't like, what could be improved. Just anything that would help me out, and just how you feel about it. I always love getting interactions from people who've listened to it. So today I'm going to talk about my life and kind of what's been going on. I was in grad school for a little while to be a counselor, and I quit grad school. So today's topic is why I quit grad school. I've talked about my story on basically my first episode on the podcast. And of course, if you listen to that, I had an awakening and was put in the hospital and to the psych ward, and I kind of had to figure out my life, and went through the dark night of the soul. Had a couple different jobs. I was a delivery driver for a while, and then I was a newspaper editor and writer, and then I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a job for a while. I eventually started substitute teaching, and then got a job at a hotel. And I really started thinking around that time, what do I really want to do with my life? What do I love? Like, who am I? Who am I? What is my identity? What are the things I excel at? And so I was really thinking about when I was an undergrad and I was an English major, and what I love so much about books, about writing, about talking about books with other people. And what I realized is that, I love story, of course, but what I love is what story can teach us, and how we can connect with each other about story, and how we can use stories in books or in movies or anything really. How that can help us and teach us lessons we can apply to our life. And just realizing who I am, and that I really excel at one-on-one or small groups. And I really want to connect deeply and get to know what's going on in people's lives, and how we can relate and help each other. And that's more counseling than it is being an English teacher. I don't really care about grammar teaching about that. And so I started grad school for counseling. And I did that for a couple of years, and it was good. I learned a good amount. But it came a time where I felt like I kind of had reached the limits of what I could learn in that capacity within grad school. Obviously grad school is a lot of reading books, taking quizzes, taking tests, and I had kind of gotten my head around psychology and at least the gist of it, of different modalities and their kind of understanding of psychology and how to help people. And I really enjoyed some classes I took where we did mock counseling sessions, practice counseling sessions, and really enjoyed that and thought I definitely gained more from that than I did just from the classes where you learn from the textbook and stuff like that. But I was coming to a place where I was going to start my internships, and so basically working for an agency that did counseling, and that would work for one of them and do counseling sessions with people. And I was excited, but I was also nervous, of course. But I was going to have to cut down on work time in working the job. I work at a hotel, and I was going to have a semester where I was going to be working part-time, and then 2 semesters of where I had to get more hours at this counseling facility, and I wouldn't have any time to work. So basically I have to take out loans to do this. And I was just calculating everything and realizing basically I have to take out $28,000 dollars in student loans, and that's a lot. So it kind of was getting to the place of, hey, you either are going to stick with this and go finish your grad school and get this degree and go this route, or pick something else, or because I'm going to have to drop a bunch of loans. Up to this point, I've been able to go to school and, for the most part, not take out any loans and just pay my way by working full time. So I was kind of getting to a head. And for a while, I had been thinking about alternate paths of helping people. I'm interested in life coaching. I'm interested in energy healing. If you listen to my energy healing episode earlier, I experienced and tried out a couple modalities myself, and it's been helpful and been really intriguing. And I'm just interested in ways of hearing the spirit through dream work, synchronicities, of course, just life. And I really like Carl Jung and his connection between psychology and spirituality. And it just seems like a modern psychology has kind of gone away from that and really focused on just the psychology part and mental health. And, I think that's important, and that's a part of psychology. But as far as healing goes, humans, I think they're spiritual beings, and they need that spiritual component to truly heal. And so, it just seems like there's a part that's missing that could help people. Unfortunately, today, psychology is tied in with psychiatry and the pharmaceutical, the modern medical system. And I think there's a lot of issues in that, and there's a lot of corruption. And, for example, the DSM, that's the Diagnostic Manual of Mental Disorders, and a lot of to get insurance, you most likely have to diagnose your patients with a mental disorder, and you have to say, this is their disorder, this is how many sessions I'm going to have with them, and then they're going to be good. And that's how many sessions the insurance company will cover. So it's just basically a very similar model to traditional medicine in hospitals. And so it doesn't really, take into account that healing, especially mental, emotional, psychological, it takes a long time. It's going to take more than 5-6 sessions, kind of CBT model. And that's just not going to do it. And there's a lot of problems there. And then, big pharma, it doesn't really care about people. They just want money. And so there's a lot of corruption, and there's a lot of psychologists and counselors who realize this and don't like this. And I respect them for trying to do the best they can to work with the system that we have. But there is a lot of counselors that, they don't even take insurance because of these issues. And, there's issues within the DSM itself. A lot of counselors and psychologists recognize this and the way we view mental disorders. Hopefully, I hope to have an episode about this, and we'll talk more about that. But so there's a lot of things that I really not on board with, and I don't like that psychology is tied to, unfortunately. But I think there's a lot more out there as far as healing modalities and working with the body and somatic intelligence. And I think that psychology is beginning to pick up on that. It's beginning to use meditation and even things like EMDR. But there's a lot more modalities out there, and I'm interested in exploring these things. And I don't want to be hampered by having to fall within what the authorities on psychology say falls under what you can and cannot do. I recognize there's definitely a lot of good things about having, you do paperwork about your sessions, which helps keep you accountable on what's going on and being ethical. And then you have a board and you have a supervisor. I think those are good things and important. And, I think that it's important in whatever way that you're in a position of authority and over people and to help people, that you have, that you're getting help yourself. A lot of counselors go to other counselors, and also you have people you can go to ask for advice, for help, and then also just some accountability. So you make sure that you're being ethical as well. But I don't think that, you can find those things independently with that outside of the walls of psychology as well. And so as long as you recognize that and find that yourself, that's what's most important. So what happened to me is I was doing my homework and do my classes and continue on, and the summer is getting close, and my decision about what I was going to do was looming. And then I found out that I'd made some bad grades in a couple classes. I was going to have to retake them, and it was going to take me a couple more semesters to finish grad school. And even after that, I continued doing my homework and going on as normal. But about a week after that, I just kind of hit a wall, I guess, and I just couldn't do my homework, and I just felt so much resistance to my class and to grad school, and couldn't do anything. And so, I wasn't going to just drop out based on that alone. And so I analyzed it, and I thought about all these things that I just talked to you all about. And I realized that my intuition was backed up by good, solid facts that aligned with me and aligned with what I believe and what I stand for. And that it wasn't just about, hey, I'm procrastinating. I don't like doing my homework. It's not before I would have those feelings and keep pushing on. And so, I've just been learning the last 2 years to really listen to my intuition. And of course, you still use your mind. You still use the logic. You still analyze, what is this intuition? Is that intuition, or is that ego? Is that good or bad, or what is the pros and cons? But you definitely listen to it and don't just ignore it. And so after doing all that, it was definitely very scary. Just like doing the solo episode is scary for me. But I decided to drop out of grad school and kind of figure out things from there. I've been kind of slowing down, for about a year and a half on the spiritual journey. I'd been really delving into, spirituality and reading things and talking to people and just kind of figuring out the landscape outside of Christianity, what people believe, what are different books and ways of thinking about things and things I just never thought about or never really gotten into. And so I kind of got to a place of where I kind of got the general landscape and where things no longer like surprise me so much. I kind of understood at least the gist of things, and just recognizing that I was in a new season of slowing down and focusing more on getting into my body and working on healing and working on cultivating that voice of the Spirit and intuition inside of me. And talking to different people, they said that, and some people who were counselors, that the most important thing is to work on yourself and cultivate that inner knowing, that voice inside. And that's what's really important in helping others, and then helping them find that within themselves. And so I've been doing that. And so it's just, all of that and kind of figuring out my faith. That's why I'd been making some bad grades in grad school, because that felt just as important and hard to kind of focus solely on grad school, and felt even more important, I guess, than just reading textbooks and quizzes and stuff like that. More holistic way of learning. And so it was kind of hard to hear that I would have to retake some of those classes. There just wasn't the path for me anymore. And so I'd been really enjoying doing more meditation and slowing down and really going inwards and focusing inwards. And so after grad school, just kept doing that. I'm taking a course that utilizes meditation and talking about ways we hear the Spirit, and figuring out what my path forward was as far as like life coaching and stuff like that. And I got some advice, and so kind of my path now is to become a life coach, and but it's gonna be a while and kind of figure out my niche and who my clients are and what that population is going to be and how I can best serve them. So I'm excited. I think that it's going to be good. I think that we're kind of in a new stage, with social media and podcasts like this. If someone's ever been in therapy, they realize that, just because someone has a degree, that doesn't necessarily make them a great therapist, or even if they're a great therapist, they might not be the therapist for you. That you might not gel or click, have that connecting energy, be on the same page. And so you might have to try out a few different counselors. And so, I think that with social media and podcasts and stuff like that, people can get a little taste of who people are. Of course, you can present an image that's not you on social media, stuff like that. But I think podcast is a little bit harder to do that. It's your voice and you're talking with different people and yourself. It's harder to hide. And so I try to do the best I can to be authentic and present myself as I truly am. And I hope that reverberates and people can see that and hear that. And that will, they'll connect with that. And, the people that are right will be drawn to me, and that I can help them. And so I feel like that this podcast is just it's a good way to help market and connect with people, and people that I connect with through the podcast, they also helped me as well as a lot of my friends have been on here, and they give me good stuff as well. So I've really enjoyed that. So I hope to do that for other people as well in new ways and through coaching. I definitely am not going away from having guests on. I want to have guests on that are also coaches and do different things that we can connect with and similar interests. And y'all let me know what kind of subjects y'all are interested in hearing about, or what kind of people, or if you have someone in mind to be a guest on, if you're interested in being a guest on the podcast, just let me know. I'll put my socials in this podcast notes, so you can connect with me. One thing that I want to talk about is kind of debt slavery. Our culture, they say after high school, go to college, get a degree, and get a good job from that degree, and oftentimes go to grad school or get a PhD. And of course, all of this takes money. And if you look at the rate of inflation of entry to colleges over the years, it's just skyrocketed. And you see so many people taking out loans and really just putting themselves in debt slavery. Of course, it's no blame or fault or accusatory towards anyone. That's just what they have to do. But I do think that we're in a new time of where a degree doesn't mean as much. It's almost like now you have to get a master's for it to really mean something. And a lot of people have to, get trained in their profession even more after their degree. So there's a whole lot more steps. And so, that is the way society looks at, hey, you got this college degree, then I'm willing to look at you for a hire. But it's definitely not as secure as it used to be. And having a degree and that meaning, hey, I'm definitely going to get a really good job. And so I think it's starting to open up that there's alternate ways. There's a lot of info out there on the web and in books and people you can connect with to get learning outside of university, and that can be just as beneficial or even more than school and a whole lot cheaper. Of course, there's trade schools and stuff like that. And so I think that we're beginning to see that, the way that we've been raised, go to college, get a good job. It's not as there's going to be a change. It's going to be more diversified, and we can even see that people these days have more jobs on different paths, and the whole landscape is looking different. So it just depends on your field, your path, your degree, whether you should go to college, get a degree, and stuff like that. Of course, there's benefits to going to college. I really enjoyed, especially in grad school, the environment of learning of people that are really smart, that are looking at different things. There was a lot of talks at Baylor I was at where I could go listen to people present their research, and it's really interesting. But at the same time, honestly, I didn't have to go to Baylor to go to these things. I could have just looked it up online and went to these different lectures and picked up this information. But school, it was still a nice environment. But at the same time, I do think that especially grad school is very slanted towards the intellectual, towards the head, and is not as embodied or connected with emotional intelligence. And just, it's easy to kind of get out of the loop of everyday normal living in grad school, and professors are prone to this as well. And even though they're really smart most of the time, that can also make them arrogant and blind to their biases. So I think that there's definitely a lot of bias in university as well. So basically my point in all of this is just to say, really think about college and grad school and whether you want to pursue that path or a different path before dropping a bunch of loans that it's gonna take years and years to repay. And so I just myself found that wasn't the right path for me, and that's not what I wanted to do. So I just think it's important to think about these things and not just do what society tells you to do. A lot of geniuses, they dropped out or didn't even go to university, and they found alternate ways. Of course, you have to have that self-motivating motor inside of you and know how to find information and knowledge and how to learn. So that's important skills. But yeah, it is possible for sure. And I just want to say that, I don't think that my time in grad school was wasted. Neither was my undergrad or the first time I went to grad school at Baylor. I can look back and I can see all the things I learned for that. And even though I didn't even get my degree at Baylor or LSU in grad school, they taught me a lot and they helped me along my path. So anything really in life, looking back, it's never wasted. There's always lessons we can learn from these things. So, of course, we can always look back and say, hey, we should have made this choice or this choice, and that impacted me negatively. And there's always, better paths. But at the same time, it's like, well, we don't know what we now know, and so it's easy to look back and be like, we should have made that alternate choice. So, just have grace for yourself, and residing in shame and guilt for the past and what you did, or time you think you wasted, that there's always God is always working good through everything, and there's always things we can learn. So just take those lessons and utilize them for the future so we can continue to make better choices. And there's many paths, and it's not just like one path is a good path and one path is a bad path. There's many different shades. One thing I struggled with is if I was in quit grad school, do I know what I wanted to do? And I wasn't totally sure when I quit grad school. I had an idea, but it wasn't totally clear, and it's still not exactly clear how it's going to come about. And so I just want to encourage people that it's okay to quit something or change your path, even if the way is not totally clear. I mean, really, future is never totally clear. We never know exactly, but it doesn't have to be totally set in stone. I know there's a lot of times I've stopped myself from doing things or starting things or continuing on some things because I just wasn't exactly sure, wasn't totally clear to me how I would do it, and just kind of that perfectionism mentality, like it has to be perfect. I have to know exactly to continue on. And so just allowing for that mystery and that intuition that if you're guided towards a certain way, to honor that. Of course, I still have my job, I'm still making money, so I'm not just totally dropping everything and like, oh, now my life is going to collapse because I don't have things in place. I still have things in place. I'm still living comfortably with the money that I have and have my job and stuff like that. So, have that balance of, take some risks, take a leap of faith, but also be practical and have some backups and some security as well. So yeah, that's kind of what my life has been like the past few years. I'm excited for the future and excited for the future of this podcast and connecting with y'all and having more guests on and having more solo episodes and expanding my thoughts and continuing to get better with my voice. I know I say and a lot, and I have to listen to myself over again in editing, and I definitely cringe. But I do think that there's something special in not editing everything where it sounds perfect. I actually don't trust people that sound too polished. It's kind of like, are you putting one over me? Are you being real? And they might not be, but it's just a little bit of a warning when someone is too perfect with with how they speak. But likewise, you still want to put out a good product, and you want to continue to work on yourself and how you speak, and not be too cringe or hard to listen to. So I try to continue to work on kind of how I speak and speaking clearly, and getting out the message in a way that is understandable and relatable. So I trust that I will continue to get better at these solo podcasts. So thank you for bearing with me on this first solo episode. And I'll see y'all guys soon.